Mass Jerk Beats.
Okay, everyone, welcome to the MocoFootball.com podcast. We have Damon Anderson again for another week. Damon, talk to us about the Northwest run and what they did last year to go on that amazing run and win the state championship. And what did you think of it overall?
Then I think most people predicted Northwest to be at the 7-3 range for the season and most likely a third or fourth seed in the playoff. And for the majority of the season, it looked that way. They had a Week 4 loss to Gaithersburg, and they had a late season loss to Clarksburg, Week 8. And then going into Week 9, I think most people expected, okay, this is what we thought they were going to be, 7-3, maybe squeak into the playoffs. And then they played Quince Orchard and came out with the win.
Right.
And they went in as the number 2 seed in the playoffs. They had a rematch with Gaithersburg in the first round. They won that game. And then going into the second round versus Quince Orchard, I think it was still 50-50 on whether they could repeat, because beating the same team twice in the season is tough, let alone doing it on the road. And
Right.
They came out like gangbusters, punched Quince Orchard in the mouth, jumped to a 21-0 lead. Quince Orchard fought back to make it a close game, but Northwest held on, and they went in to the semifinals versus Pink Branch. Classic game, huge shootout, something like 13 touchdowns between the two teams. It was an absolute outstanding game. Then they went to M&T versus PG County representative in Suitland, and going into that game, I think a lot of people expected classic offense versus defense matchup, and we kind of got that. It wasn't a high-scoring game,
Right.
but surprisingly, it was that stepped up and pretty much shut down Suitland for 3 quarters.
Absolutely, Damon. I'm going to bring it back to the Week 4 matchup versus Gaithersburg. I was at that game, and when I watched it, I saw some good things from Northwest, but you came away feeling, and I think everybody that watched that game came away feeling that they were a year or two away from not only competing from a state championship level, but maybe even a division championship level. For them to come together the way that they did and gel and go on the run that they did, you brought it up. Beating QO at QO 2 times, one time in a big game late in the season, another time in the playoffs, that's no small feat. And I think the 2 moves that they made, bringing in Mark Pierce as the permanent quarterback and then moving Josh Gills over to the outside wide receiver, and they really gelled together from that point on. And when you look at how they really won those games, when you look at the championship game, like you said, it wasn't necessarily the high-scoring game, but the defense really stepped up and carried the load. There was a time where Suitland was poised to come back. And the defense stepped up and made some key plays during that stretch to kind of get the game back in Northwest's favor. And then Northwest hit a key play here and there, ended up sealing away that game. So when I look back at the run, I really see a team that, if you believe in your coaching, Northwest got the best coach you can find. I think the kids started understanding that I play for Al Thomas, and when you go into a game knowing that your coach is going to outcoach the other sideline, it's a good feeling. Another thing I want to bring up also is the talent that was at Northwest last year. Rashard Gillis was a great player. Josh Gills, great player. EJ Lee, these guys were fantastic players for them, and they had great talent. They had explosive. Watson was basically their Deshaun Jackson, taking the top off of the defense. You always had to have extra safety over top with those guys because of the speed. I look back at it, and I'm in awe, honestly, of what they did. Now, in your opinion, can this Northwest team be better than last year? Because if you look at what they did last year, they hit the stride late in the season, and it was really when they put Mark Pierce at quarterback. You're a leader. You're a franchise guy. Now he has a year underneath his belt. He has a whole offseason, everybody knowing that he's the guy. Because of that fact, and you got E.J. Lee coming back, do you think that they could be even better next year?
Yes, I do believe they can be better, but that does not necessarily mean I think they can repeat. Them being the defending champs coming into a season that pretty much makes you the favorite most years.
Right.
But I don't want to take anything away from the run and the way they finished out the season, but the fact that they had a couple of hiccups along the way gives me pause to just crown them again as the team to beat. If they would have went undefeated in their state title run, or maybe one loss, and they dominated every game, then yes, I would be like, absolutely, this is the team to beat. But even in some of the games they won, they were really close. The one that sticks out in my head is the win versus Seneca Valley early on in the season. I mean, if they lose that game, they might not make the playoffs. Yeah, and they're scheduled. They're going to play some really, really solid teams coming in, and everybody's going to be gunning for them. They're the defending state champions.
Yeah, I think they actually can be a lot better than they were last year. I think that they could, you have a year underneath your belt as the franchise guy, as the guy that is going to be leading the weight rooms, leading the off-season conditioning. I'm talking about Mark Pierce right now, leading the off-season conditioning, leading the 7-on-7s. That valuable time he's had as the guy, as the captain, as the guy that people are looking up to, I believe that that's going to bode well for them. Then you're bringing it back at E.J. Lee. And you're also bringing in a guy, there's a guy named Khalil Owens that a lot of people are excited about over there. He's a young running back that played on JV some, played on varsity some last year. And if they're able to, anything from Khalil Owens like they got from E.J. Lee last year, and you add to a wide receiver core that includes Brandon Williams, Aaron Beetleman, those kind of guys, even Jamar Wilson, is going to have to step up a little bit to that wide receiver core. That wide receiver core is going to be spectacular. Now, here's the thing that they're going to have to be kind of concerned about. The first thing, and you kind of touched on it, is how are they going to react when everybody is now gunning for them? It's hard to week in and week out, you're the Super Bowl game. You're going to be going into situations where it's going to be a team that might be sub 500 that is not really in the playoff hunt, and these kids are going to be geeked out of their minds to beat you. Are they going to be able to handle that?
Absolutely.
Are they going to be able to handle
it? It's going to be tough. That's one of the unknowns coming into a season after you've won a state title. Instead of being the hunter, you're now the hunted. You're going to get 110% from everybody, from your crosstown rivals to traditional losing program on that Friday or Saturday. That's their state title. If they can beat the defending state championship, those kids will most likely be talking about that game for the rest of their lives.
For the rest of their lives, right. I remember Al Thomas used to tell us, if they lose the game, he's talking about the other team, if they lose the game, it's just another game that they lose. If we lose this game, we're on the front page of USA Today. And that's what it is going to be for Northwest from here on out. I think that's the biggest pitfall that they're going to have. Are they going to be able to handle being hunted now? Guys that people are coming in with spears to kind of take down. They have mature players. When you have a returning quarterback, when you're having a returning guy like E.J. Lee, like I said, Aaron Beetleman is a guy that was there last year, played a key role. Brandon Thompson, another guy that was a leader on that team. And if they're able to do that, I think that they're going to be the favorites to go ahead and repeat everything that Northwest has done. I've been really, really impressed with how they've handled their offseason. They haven't lost. One of the biggest reasons is Mark Pierce. How good do you think he could be going forward? He's just a junior now. Do you think that this kid can possibly be one of the best to ever play in this county?
Absolutely. Based off of last year and the success he had, based off of his work ethic in the off season and what we've seen in 7-on-7, Pierce and Northwest have been lighting up the 7-on-7 circuit this summer, and he's only a junior. I mean, he still
Right.
has 2 full seasons ahead of him. I would have to believe. I mean, he still hasn't reached his max growth. I still think he has time to grow in height and obviously put on some weight.
Right.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, when he's all said and done, he will be one of the best. I have no doubt.
You're a junior and you're walking around with a state championship ring. Wow.
Yeah,
You know,
that doesn't happen often.
no, it
It does
doesn't.
not happen often.
It doesn't. And the way he came into his own in the last part of that season, started seeing probably one of the makings of a great one. I think that he could go down as one of the best, if not the best. It really depends on, you start talking about the Chris Kellys and Deontay Twymans and the guys that played before. It really just all depends on, he can add another state championship or two. Man, you're talking about air that we will never be able to breathe in our lives, Dame, honestly. So it really depends on him. And he has his future in his hands. From all reports, he's been working really, really hard. The coaching staff has, really been on him to correct whatever mechanical flaws he may have. And I think he can really become one of those guys that we talk about for a while. Northwest as a whole, but it really comes from him. There's no complacency. I think that they actually came out with a chip on their shoulder to prove to people that
Definitely.
this wasn't a fluke. We won these games fair and square. We beat QO fair and square. We beat Suitland fair and square. There was no gimmick. All right, everybody, we're here with Brandon Thompson, linebacker for the state champion Northwest Jaguars. First and foremost, man, I just want you to take us back a little bit. Going into training camp of last season, what were the expectations? Because did you guys know something that we didn't know and we didn't see? Or were you guys kind of, I don't know what this team is going to be like right now, and did you guys just figure out as the season progressed that you guys had that kind of team?
Throughout training camp and during summer workouts and practice and all that, we fed off the energy and the expectations of our coaching staff because losing 34 seniors the previous year, we really didn't know what to expect. We knew it was a special group, we just didn't know how far that everything was going to take us. We just took it a day at a time, especially throughout the summer. We thought that we were pretty hard working. We were listeners for most of the process because we installed a lot of new things. So that's basically the gist of how our expectations and preparation went.
And also take us back to the Gaithersburg game after. I'm talking about the Gaithersburg game during the regular season, not after that. You guys come out versus Gaithersburg. Guys lose that game, don't really look that great. A lot of people are kind of down on you guys. What transpired from that point on to the Suitland game that made you guys into the team that you guys became?
I think that the Gaithersburg game in the beginning was like an eye-opener because, not to say that we weren't humble, but we thought that we were better than we were at certain things.
Right.
It really gave us the opportunity to tighten up on everything that we had been practicing and do it even better and realize that there is competition out there. We are not the only team. Even though we had beat Seneca previously, we knew that with QO and Gaithersburg and all the other teams in the 4A and the county period that we couldn't sleep on anyone. And it really opened our eyes going forward. We played Blake next week and tightened up pretty well, so it all turned out for the best.
And you just touched on the QO. Going into the first game, you guys were coming off a loss from Clarksburg the previous week, and a lot of people were counting you guys out. And you guys came in and really took it to them. And then going into playoffs, everybody thought, hey, that was just a aberration. QO is going to come back and get it back again. And you guys not only beat them, but beat them even worse than you beat them last time. Talk about your mindset going into those two games and feeling afterwards.
Our mindset going in was basically underdog, everybody, the world against us. And before the games, we had a certain theme that was embracing the underdog and knowing that we had nothing to lose. And Coach Newbausen and Coach Corbus handled that with the mindset of we had to be the aggressor and everything. Nobody believed in us, so we couldn't really mess up. We carried that throughout the game, and then after we beat them the first time, people thought it was a shock, but I knew it was a solid win because we just dominated on every aspect. And then the second time, it was convincing because 2 times you can't win by luck twice. So that's what we thought.
Talk about how you guys won. Northwest is known for their offense. Obviously, you guys got Mark Pierce now. Before it was Matty Callahan, 2 great quarterbacks, all Met kind of caliber players. But talk about the defense. You guys really stepped up, really took control of the line of scrimmages. You guys were fast, athletic. Yourself, Rasheed Gillis, were 2 fast linebackers that flowed to the ball. Talk about the defense and how you guys really came together, and now going forward into this season, how you are planning on becoming that senior leader on that side of the ball.
Our defense is a tight-knit group. We like to pride ourselves on not being just one person, one strong suit, but everybody. We have no weak link as we see it on our defense. We fly to the ball. We like to do pursuit drills to practice that. We all like relentless plays, and if you watch the film, I don't think there's a clip that is just one person and everybody else does some. We like 11 heads on the ball, and going forward, we want to keep that mentality up of just smooth, relentless, and fast defense that nobody can break out. Because there's great players. We've played some Division I talent, whether offense, defense, but when they get the ball, there's going to be 11 heads around them, and it's hard for any person to break 11 tackles. So that's how we go to it.
Right. Talk about this offseason, man. You guys win the championship, go into offseason workouts. You guys come out of offseason workouts. You have not lost yet.
Yes, sir.
How do you guys keep that chip on your shoulder? I mean, what was it that has motivated you guys to – you guys have a great coaching staff, people around you guys, but what has kept that chip on? I mean, you guys are really playing like you guys got something to prove.
Of course, there's still people who still doubt and say it was fluke that we won states, and we really do not like losing. You think that anywhere from our quarterbacks or our offense, they'd be a little timid or anything. We have a quarterback with an attitude. We got a defense with an attitude, coaching staff with an attitude. We don't want to lose at all. Summer workouts are amped. This is probably the hardest I've seen myself and a lot of my other teammates work. It's been pretty ridiculous, and 7-on-7 wise, we just have each other's back. Everybody is accountable for something. When they come together, something special can happen because everybody's doing their certain job. We just keep it together, and we don't want to lose.
You guys are losing Samner at the linebacker spot, obviously Rasheed Gillis. You're going to be the guy at that core. Who are some of the guys you expect to step up around you on the defense, and how are you putting yourself in that leadership position to make sure the guys around you are stepping up and doing what they're supposed to be doing?
As far as leading this year, I embrace the leadership because I know that the people around me are just as much as leaders as I am. I mean, we have Chuck Anya coming back. He's a returning Sam linebacker. Martin Foray, he's a standout corner. He's a really fast guy. We got a guy, Quab Asamo, who came in from Watkins Mill. He's had a tremendous offseason. Troy Leffage, that's just speed. He hits pretty well. And Jamar, we have a good group of guys in our D-line. Coach Big Dog, our D-line coach, has them rotating all the time. They're always fresh. So there's nothing that it's just one guy. We're all there ready to play.
You kind of touched on it, and we talked about, just got done with the show, and we talked about some of the pitfalls that you guys might have, and we agree that you guys have all the talent in the world. The thing that we see be one pitfall for you guys is you guys are going to be going from, because last year you guys were kind of going at from the underdog position. Now you guys are the hunted. You guys are the guys that people want to knock off now. How are you guys going to handle that?
Yes, I've heard the target on your back slogan since December 6th when we won it. I mean, as any leader or team, any man, basically, if you have something and you're really, really passionate about it, you're going to do whatever is in your power and then some to defend it. So having a target on your back is really extra motivation to keep what you have and build on that. We are not complacent, and I know that moving forward that the target will only get bigger because we have guys that are not really willing to give it up. And that underdog role is cool, but it can only be embraced for so long. Northwest has been through a lot, and now it's time to be on top and stay on top.
Okay, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. And, tell Coach Newberg, I said hi, and, keep on doing what you guys are doing because it's working. has been and probably always will be QO. They've had a major coaching change. Coach Mack obviously going over to Urbana. How do you think that will affect them going forward? Do you think you're gonna see any difference on the field? Coach Kelly has been there for a few years now. He takes over at the helm. Do you think that it's going to be business as usual, or do you think there's going to be a little bit of a hangover effect with Coach Mack leaving?
I do believe there will be a hangover, but I do not believe it'll be due to the coaching change.
Okay.
The hangover will be just the natural change when you graduate solid players that Quince Orchard did.
Right.
I mean, Elliot Davis gone. It's just a natural thing. But in terms of the coaching change, anytime you replace a legend like Coach Mack, it's going to be tough. But in a perfect world, you want somebody who's been there for a while, knows the system, knows the kids, knows the community, knows the rivalries, and Coach Kelly fits that bill 100%.
Right.
The only drop-off I'll see I expect, is because of the change in personnel, not necessarily the change in staff.
What QO lost last year, talking about, like you mentioned, Elliot Davis, you're talking about Malcolm Brown, you're talking about Kevin Tools-Joppy, Kyle Gregory, those kind of guys do return. Adam McClain, but when you lose, that's basically your whole entire secondary that you're losing, and your receiving core. So when you're losing that much production, and we're not talking about all county players here, we're talking about Division I athletes. We're talking about guys that colleges were banging down the door for. So when you lose those kind of guys, it's going to be hard to replace them over a course of an off season. I always tell people this all the time. QO does it every year. When QO lines up in the fall, I can almost guarantee people are going to look out on the field. Where the heck did they get these monsters from? Because QO just manages to produce. And I don't know if it's because of their off-season conditioning. I don't know if it's because of the area. I don't know what it is. People have been predicting for QO to fall for a while. And every single year that people are like, okay, this is the year. They don't have anything. They graduate everybody. They just bring back these monsters over and over again. While we don't know the names yet, I can almost guarantee you there's something over there that the people in QO land, and I'm sure you probably know a few names that you're not trying to throw out there that you've been ordered to kind of keep under wraps, that people in QO land probably know a little bit about. They probably know a little bit about that they're not speaking on, that they know that this kid can put it together. They can have a special team. And I'm excited to see it. Coach Kelly, he was the architect of that defense the last few years. If you know anything about QO, you know that defense is their main bread and butter. As good as the offense could be and it has been over the years, defense is the main bread and butter. Coach Kelly has been that guy. And going forward, I think that Coach Kelly is going to bring back, that dog thing that I'm hearing a lot out of that camp is Seattle Seahawks. That's the thing I'm hearing a lot out of that camp. And if they can replicate anything that Seattle had with their team, I think that they can definitely, be a form opponent for any team in the state of Maryland, no matter how much they've lost. When you talk about Seattle, you talk about Russell Wilson, and you talk about the quarterback position and everything. What about the quarterback position over there? Obviously they lost Mikey Murtaugh from last year. He was a senior leader. Do you think that they're concerned about the quarterback position over there? Do you think they're cautiously optimistic? Or what do you think is the feeling over there with the quarterback position? Do you think that it's going to be a huge problem for them going forward this year?
I would lean more toward cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
Knight, I do believe is his name, will be running the offense at Quince Orchard, but he will not. I don't think he'll be asked to do as much as Murtaugh did last year.
Okay.
I think this year we'll see a more classic Quince Orchard team.
Okay.
And I would be shocked to see 4 wideouts, empty backfield type setup. I think this is going to be straight ground and pound, old school Quince Orchard, Montgomery County football.
Right.
A heavy dose of the running back and lean on your defense.
And you talked about the ground and pound. Do you think that that's the best thing for this team. Barlow and Green, that combination right there. Do you think that having those two guys run the ball, and I'm hearing that you guys are going to be having some big boys up front. You have Coach Oswald as the offensive line coach. Do you think that having Green and Barlow will be enough to go ahead and reclaim that number one spot in the 4A West?
If it's not enough, it's right there. The defense only gave up 6 points a game last year. Even if they have a drop-off, we're talking about 8, 9 points a game. Right. That's still enough to win the division. But it's going to be tough, just like it was last year. Every team in this division plays a very stout schedule, and it will be tested early and often. But the good news is there's, like you mentioned, 2 solid, tested running backs in Barlow and Green. I expect them. I wouldn't be surprised to see them both put up 1,000 yards.
I honestly feel like that might be what it has to take. I think that those two guys are special. I think the offensive line is special. And I think that the offensive line coach is special. So those two guys are going to have to be elder statesmen of the team, as the guys that kind of been battle tested before. I think they're going to have to take some of these young kids, put them on back, especially early on. I think later on in the season, Damon, you're going to see guys step up. Early on, you're going to see the one wide receiver sets and things like that. But I think that throughout the year, I think that you're going to see more guys in the wide receiver core develop. I think they're going to be able to give it to more guys as the year goes on. But early on, I think those two guys and that offensive line is going to have to really carry that team through the first part of that season.
Clarksburg week 1.
Clarksburg week 1. Right, exactly. We're gonna talk about Clarksburg in a little bit. I think that Clarksburg, Damascus early on, those games, I mean, I think that those guys are going to have to be special. I think the offensive line is going to have to be special. And I think that's what's going to have to take. I believe you remember this, the Anderson and Hogan show that Damascus had. I believe that was 2005.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
when they just killed everybody, they gave it to those two guys and nobody could stop them, period. And I think that that's what QO was probably going to have to go back to really get through the first part. But I think after the first part of the season, I definitely think that Barlow and Green are definitely going to be the key, and the offensive line are going to be the key to success early. You mentioned Clarksburg. Honestly, is this the dark horse team in the state of Maryland? When you look at it, they're the last team to beat Northwest in any kind of form or fashion. They're returning a lot of guys that Tavis Holland or Joe Nasty, guys like that are seasoned, that have been playing for 3 years. Is this the team that could kind of rise up out of nowhere and surprise people, maybe make a state championship run? Or do you think that this might be a little bit premature for us to be talking about all that, and it might be a situation where they might not be necessarily ready and you might see some holes that people might be able to exploit?
No. I do believe they are the dark horse for a state title. And the funny thing is, a lot of people have been saying this for several years. Okay. Clarksburg always seems to be right at that cusp of becoming one of the dominant teams in Montgomery County.
Right.
It seems like every other year they lose to Damascus by 1 point.
Right.
Or every other year they lose to Quince Orchard by 1 score or less. So it's literally just one play here or there that just hasn't gone their way. Or in the past, 2 years ago, I forget their quarterback's name, but he went down with an injury, and then they stuck in like this true freshman quarterback and played Quince Orchard down to the last minute of the last quarter.
Right.
And now all of those kids are now seniors or juniors.
Right.
So they've been playing together for a while. So they're definitely tested. Outside, this is why I hesitated to say Northwest can repeat, because the division alone is so stacked.
Right.
It's really hard to pick who's going to come out on top. Matter of fact, we might end up with a situation where the top 3 seeds are all 9-1 or 8-2.
Wow.
I can easily see Quince Orchard, Northwest, Clarksburg doing sort of a round robin and beating each other. But Clarksburg, I do believe, returns 6 on offense, 6 on defense. So out of all those teams, I think they have the most kids returning.
Right.
And Holland, I forgot about him at Clarksburg.
Yeah.
Those 3 are right there. I think they all had about 750, 800 yards last year.
Another guy that people don't talk about is Peter Limbear, middle linebacker. He's been starting for 3 years too. This will be his third year starting. He's been starting since he's been a sophomore. Been an outstanding player for them. I think this year he's going to have a breakout year for them. I think that they definitely got the makeup to be that dark horse team that comes out and surprises everybody. About Gatesburg, do you think that they can recover from losing that much talent off one team? I mean, they've lost an entire team. They got one of the best defensive ends in the state of Maryland. That's, anybody can take that. They lost everybody, man. Like, do you think that they could make any kind of run at the playoffs this year? And if so, who do you think is going to have to step up for them to make that kind of run?
Yeah, I'm at a loss on this one. Given the other respective teams, Quince Orchard is reloading, as we like to say, instead of rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
Clarksburg is everybody's dark horse pick. Northwest is the defending state champions. And like I mentioned last week, I honestly am reserving that fourth spot for Witt.
Right.
Due to their returning talent and their somewhat easier schedule.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, Gatesburg just lost too much.
Oh, man.
On both sides of the ball. I really don't know. If for them to make a playoff run, they're going to have to not upset one team. They're going to have to upset like 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah. Coach Kephart is a great coach, legendary coach. Goes without saying that he's a great coach. He has a great coaching staff. Coach Carter over there has been running defense for a while. If they can get this team to the playoffs, man, I would have to give them a standing ovation. I mean,
Absolutely.
I really don't. I don't see how they in this division. Now, if they were in another division, maybe I can say, hey, all they would have to do is just beat this team, and they can get in. But in this division, man, I mean, we talk about, the division with the Arizona Cardinals and the St. Louis Rams and the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. Talk about the St. Louis Rams and the Cardinals. Those are not bad teams. And in other divisions, those guys might be the favorites. Because they're in that division, it's tough. So it's just one of those situations where they're in a position they can really say is that they're going to be overlooked this year. And because of that, they might be able to sneak up on some teams. I believe their JV went undefeated. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they either went undefeated or they lost only 1, maybe 2 games last year. So they clearly having some talent coming onto the varsity. But those are young, behind the ear kids. Can't really expect them to step right in and start competing for playoff spots and for a West. It's going to be a tough situation though. Now,
yeah, it's rough. I'm looking at the schedule, and obviously the in-division schedule is brutal. Clarksburg, Northwest, Quince Orchard, but looking at their out-of-division games, they play at Sherwood, at Paint Branch.
Right. You have to face the defending state champions and another team that a lot of people thought that would go to the state championship that year, and then now the team that beat the state champions. I mean, it's just crazy,
right.
Man. It's just crazy. It's just a crazy division. It's a crazy. Keep it fair here on the MobileFootball.com podcast. We try to anyways. Will Magruder have a winning season this year?
A winning season?
A winning season. Damon, work with me here. Work. I'm trying here.
Okay, well, we can go game by game.
Okay, all right. Let's go game by game.
All right, 5-5 is the best case scenario.
Right.
That means they have to beat Wheaton, Blake, Walter Johnson.
Okay.
Randallstown, and pick up 1 game in there. That's the thing. Best case scenario, I have them 4-6.
Okay. Well.
And that's assuming all of the issues that they had going on last year have been resolved. There's been a mass exodus of kids.
Yeah.
Faculty and community issues.
Yeah, to say the least.
It's just not a good environment right now to talk about a winning record.
Yeah. I had to squeeze it in there,
Yeah, I mean, I love the school. I mean, they're my Gaithersburg cousins. They have
Okay.
a outstanding athletic program
Oh, the
outside of
basketball team and
football, but
soccer team. Basketball team and soccer team
for
are just
some reason,
ridiculous.
it just it just hasn't clicked.
No, no, it hasn't. You know, listen. Do I take some kind of perverse pleasure that they're not that great being a Sherwood person? Maybe a tiny bit, maybe a little bit of me. But as a Montgomery County person overall, I think that this is not good.
No.
I think that last year was embarrassing for them. It's one thing to lose. Losing, everybody loses. Everybody goes through losing seasons. It happens to everybody. It was just the scores, Damon. The scores were just jarring. I mean, you're talking about 63-0, 63-10, 63-14. And then now there was that one game versus Walter Johnson where it was like 4-2. That got some.
That was brutal.
I mean, it was just a really. They couldn't get it out their own way last year, and like you said, there's been a mass exodus of kids. A lot of internal issues that we're not going to touch on. Needless to say, this team is nowhere near ready to compete for a West title in any form or fashion, and honestly, it would be a miracle if they can get to 500. But
yeah, if they get to 500, Coach of the Year, Team of the Year, right there.
I agree. You hand them the trophy. I mean, it's done. I don't want to. If they get to 500, I don't want to hear a debate. Honestly, I don't
exactly.
want to hear.
I agree, 100%.
I don't want to hear a debate. He needs to get the trophy. It needs to be over, done. I don't even want to hear any kind of thing for anybody else. Because this thing right here, not only are they not necessarily the greatest team in the world, and I'm being very kind when I say that. They're in the toughest division. And I keep on repeating it, and people might be tired of me saying it, but I want to emphasize my point. This is the toughest division in Maryland, period. Public school wise, period. Okay, you just go through it. And you're asking Magruder off of the year that they had and losing all these kids to different places.
We didn't even touch on it. They had a coaching change.
They had a coaching change.
I mean, all those things lined up.
Look,
it's gonna be rough for a year or two.
Yeah, look, I'm hoping that they take their lumps this year, come back next year, come back strong, build up a freshman class, go at it next year. But this year right here, this might be one of the better years in that division that we've ever seen. I just don't see it this year that they can at least get 2 to 3 wins. Give that senior class, all the seniors that they have over there, a good, send off. Be more competitive. That's all I'm asking for them. I don't want to see any more 63-0 games.
Agreed.
This county has too much pride for 63-0 games. But Damon, thank you for another week, man. This is a great discussion. I'm really excited about this week, and it lived up to everything I was thinking about. Next week we're going to be talking about 3A overall. With obviously the Mount Seneca Valley, those guys out there. One of those down county schools can probably sneak up in there. Who's going to be in the playoffs, who's not going to be in the playoffs, things like that. Next week is going to be a big week, and I'm really excited for that next week too. So thank you again. This is MoguFootball.com, and see you next week.